Already on? All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all for coming. Apologies that we're doing this indoors here at the Convention Center. I think is a great location, but I know we'd much rather be outdoors at Clyde Warren Park if we could be. Well, I want to start by introducing the 60th Mayor of Dallas, Eric Johnson.
Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, all of you, for being here this morning. Good morning, everyone. Dallas is a vibrant and ascendant city. I truly believe we are the premier city in the Southwest, and that our brightest days are ahead of us. And we're able to dream big because of our small and medium-sized businesses. These are entrepreneurs, risk takers, neighborhood staples, and rising stars that make the Dallas economy both strong and unique. In Dallas, we have fostered an economic environment that encourages these types of enterprises and allows them the space to grow and to innovate. But these businesses have taken a significant hit during the last few months as we've contended with COVID-19. Capital and revenue have dissipated as public health concerns have taken center stage. I hate that we had to go into lockdown to help slow the spread of this virus. But the stay-at-home orders that we endured for weeks were ultimately to our benefit. They helped us make strides in testing and acquiring PPE, and also helped us keep our precious hospital beds and ventilators available during what would have been an even more tragic flu season. Our state's reopening has been the subject of endless debate. But the fact is, it's happening. It's also a fact that COVID-19 is still with us, and it's going to be with us in the weeks and months ahead. We know we're going to have to live with COVID-19 until we have a vaccine. And we know that the only way to continue to save both lives and livelihoods is to take precautions, such as wearing masks and enhancing our cleaning regimens. But we also need to work together. In March, I recognized that we needed a blueprint to meet these unprecedented challenges. There is no playbook for recovering from something like this. Fortunately, we have a tremendous amount of talent and experience in Dallas, and I wanted to lean on this experience to help our city recover as quickly and completely as possible. That's why, about 2 months ago, I turned to one of our brightest economic minds, Richard Fisher, the former CEO and president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, and asked him to lead a task force on economic recovery. He then wisely turned to Fred Perpall, the CEO of the Beck Group and chairman of the Dallas Citizens Council, to serve as his co-chairman. I am grateful to both of them and to all of those in the private sector who've worked on this effort. Today, we unveil part of the fruits of their labor, Dallas Forward. This coalition of private and public partners will help fuel our short-term recovery and ensure that we are positioned for long-term inclusive growth. With Dallas Forward and dallasforward.org, we now have a central resource hub for businesses that need help navigating these turbulent times. We hope to see businesses step up and help out in any way that they can. We have a Revive Dallas Fund that is now taking donations to help small businesses. We also need donations of PPE for our small and medium-sized businesses. If your company doesn't have excess PPE, please consider making a financial contribution, and the Dallas Forward team will acquire on your behalf the PPE to assist our local and medium-sized businesses. Our small and medium-sized businesses need any resources you might have during these difficult times. But while we have many challenges ahead, Dallas is ready to lead the country's economic recovery. We're a city that is blessed with incredible assets, especially our people. We have the talent, the resilience, the economic diversity, the collective spirit, and the small and medium-sized businesses to emerge from this stronger than ever. Now, thanks to this task force, we have the beginnings of a roadmap for the journey ahead. Together, we will move Dallas forward. Thank you very much for being here, and now I'm going to turn it over to my friend and a longtime leader here in this city and in this country, Ambassador Richard Fisher.
Well, I want to thank the mayor for giving me the honor of co-chairing this. I stress co-chairing because Fred's a remarkable leader. I'm going to introduce him later, and I want to thank Fred right up front for what he's done. I want to thank you, Mayor, for encouraging us and bolding us. I want to thank Antonio and others who will speak shortly. I just want to put this in perspective. So it's important to understand that small and medium-sized businesses account for roughly 50% of the total employment of the city and reflect what we see nationwide, which is these small businesses account for about 40% of our output in this city. Already, we estimate in the Dallas Forward effort that some 31,000 jobs have been lost. But Mr. Mayor, there are another 250,000 of our workers in the city of Dallas that remain at risk in these small and medium-sized businesses. And 70% of those that are at risk, out of the big number I just gave you, are Hispanics and African Americans. There was an article this morning in the Dallas Morning News that pointed out a statistic which we feel is even perhaps more harsh here. 66% of Hispanic Americans, 53% of Black Americans say they have experienced income loss in their household. So we believe that holds for Dallas as well. 90% of small, medium-sized businesses in Dallas, in the city of Dallas, need financial assistance. They also need other assistance to secure the livelihoods and jobs of their workers. Today, Fred will lay out the centerpiece of our task force, what we call Dallas Forward, Mr. Mayor, and Antonio will address the need for PPE. Before turning over to these two great leaders, I want to mention two examples of the way I think that large corporations headquartered here in Dallas or in the area can help Dallas forward in encouraging small businesses, helping them, assisting them, and using their muscle as well as their financial means to help these small and medium-sized businesses. I'm going to start with PepsiCo. I have the privilege of serving on that board. And thanks to Steve Williams, who runs Frito-Lay Quaker and the North American side of PepsiCo, they have agreed for the task force for Dallas Forward to add another $1 million to their commitment of providing $3 million and 1 million meals to the Southern Dallas Thrives effort, Mr. Mayor. And in addition, at a recent board meeting we just had of PepsiCo, we agreed as a corporation to provide $50 million nationwide for Black-owned businesses for financial assistance and coaching. And Mr. Williams and PepsiCo have kindly pledged to work with Dallas Forward, work with Fred and his team, to make sure that Dallas small businesses, medium-sized businesses have access to a good portion of that $50 million. And the second example of good corporate leadership and engagement is a project that AT&T is currently working on. As you know, many of the small business owners and their employees are struggling, as I mentioned, to recover their work. At the same time, they're parenting over 153,000 students in DISD. So I would like just to make you aware, Mr. Mayor, ATT is working with DISD to provide free internet service to all of those students and their families. It's not done yet. It'll be at no cost to those students and their families. And we have encouraged the mayor to put his shoulder behind this. The county commissioner is doing it. But of course, it'll be DISD that has to really negotiate and finalize, and they're close to doing so with AT&T. Both of these are prime examples of how large company goodwill can be applied to help revive and sustain our businesses, Mr. Mayor. And realizing their workers are the propellants to the kind of Dallas we want to see. A Dallas that is prosperous, a Dallas that is diverse, a Dallas that is inclusive. So, Mr. Mayor, I now want to introduce Fred. You and I know him like a brother. He's the tallest guy in the room, by the way. And it is his good work and the work of his staff. I wish I could recognize all of them, the good people that have put this forward, working with the Dallas Citizens Council, to give you what I call the cornerstone of this effort, which is Dallas Forward. Fred?
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Today we are excited to announce the beginning of DallasForward.org. I say the beginning because it is clear to most of us that COVID is not something that we're going to flip a switch and it'll be done. It's clear that we are going to have to coexist and learn to navigate these uncertain times. We also know that those amongst us who can least afford to carry the burden have been asked to carry the largest burden. And so all that we have done is based on standing in the gap to help as many through the resources that we have. It's important for us that coming through this, our small businesses, our medium-sized businesses, and those businesses particularly serving our black and brown communities not only survive, but that they thrive. The cornerstone of our initiative is really the injection of capital into these small businesses. We have asked as many of our large companies to donate funds to the Revive Fund through a partnership with the Dallas Entrepreneurial Center and working with the Lift Fund, so that we have the flexibility and the agility to inject immediate working capital into these businesses. I want to encourage all of our viewers out there who may not have given to visit our Dallas Forward site and to click on our link to support our efforts on the Revive Fund. Our second cornerstone is really based around the donation of PPE. We know that our large companies get to purchase this protective equipment on a large volume basis. And we know our ability to purchase in a more efficient way allows us the opportunity to donate to our smaller companies who may, one, because of their capital demands, have a tougher time purchasing right now, and two, certainly could not purchase in such an efficient manner. And so we're asking as many large companies out there to donate as much PPE as they can spare so that we can make this available to our small businesses. And I want to encourage all of our small businesses out there, because we want you to be safe, we want your employees to be safe, and we want your customers to be safe, to please take us up on this offer and visit our website and come and collect PPE as much as you need. And then third, we're asking our large companies, particularly our utilities, those that interface with our small businesses, to provide as much expense relief as possible. This part of our program is still being worked out. There will be more details to come, but our DallasForward.org website will articulate all that is available. Please take us up on these offers. I want to thank the many large companies who have donated. There are too many to name. We have tried to credit all of that on the website, so please visit. But when I was young, my mom always said that those that have the most should do the most. And I just want to welcome you all under this tent as we try to build a Dallas that works for everyone. I want to invite Antonio Carrillo to the stage. Antonio is the CEO of Arcosa. They have been a poster child in terms of a model of helping us very quickly procuring PPE. And I wanted Antonio, before I close, just to mention a little bit about what they have done, how they've done it, so that our other large companies out there can have a little imagination as to how you might help. Antonio?
Thank you, Fred, and I want to thank Major Eric Johnson and the co-chairs of the Dallas Recovery Coalition for inviting me here. And I'm one of those companies that Fred mentioned. They tapped and said, look, you need to come help us. And I wanted to share with you why we decided to come help you. I think this initiative that you're launching today is an incredible initiative. When you look at the numbers, and you've heard these numbers, over 50% of the employment here in Dallas supplied by these small and medium-sized businesses. And those small and medium-sized businesses have been especially hard hit during this economic situation. So I think it's our responsibility as a local company to step up and really come to help those small businesses, because unless we help those small businesses recover and start growing, we cannot get the Dallas economy to start growing in a sustainable and inclusive way again. So as a company with deep roots in Dallas for many, many years, we stepped up and donated personal protective equipment, but also we made some of our protocols available because we want these small businesses to open in a safe manner. So those protocols are available for small businesses to be able to access them, read what we have experienced as a company that works to reopen in a safe manner, and hopefully they find them useful. So Arcosa is one company, and we intend to continue to support Dallas Forward because we believe it's a great initiative. But Dallas is fortunate to have a large and vibrant business community. And like Fred was saying, I'm here to ask that vibrant community to step forward and donate to the Dallas Fund, to the Dallas Forward Funds, and all the funds around it, and also to donate personal protective equipment, and if they have the ability to offer discounts for small businesses, let's do it. I think we have a long road ahead of us before we recover completely from this crisis, but the faster we can get these small businesses to recover, the faster we can get this economy growing in an inclusive and sustainable way again. So hopefully this resonates with all the business community. Let's come forward, let's donate some funds, let's donate personal protective equipment and offer some discounts to these small businesses that really need it. Thank you.
Before I turn it back over to Richard to have the final word here, I want to thank the mayor for asking me and Richard and our entire team to be involved here. You know, one of my favorite words is caring. I think caring is the most important attribute for leaders to have, but also for us as people. This is a way, Mr. Mayor, for us to truly demonstrate that we care. I want to thank the Dallas Regional Chamber, Dale Petrowski and John Elijah Day. At the very onset of this crisis, we started with a daily call. That was early March. And out of that call has come so many good things, including the cornerstone of this work. So I want to thank Dale and the Chamber for all of their continued support in this effort. I want to thank the many members of the Dallas Citizens Council who have been pestered and badgered by me to contribute to this effort. I especially want to thank our CEO, Kelvin Walker, board member, Stefan Fuchs. They have been key to this work and their teams. There are so many other companies. I think Scott Moore at PwC, they have been really the engine behind our technology and jumped in at a moment's notice to help. And then there's so many more companies that I could spend up here all day answering. But I also would say the demonstration of leadership by AT&T and Pepsi should not go unnoticed. Those are large global companies that in many ways may not have to care as much about Dallas because they operate all over the world. But because of their commitment to where they live, they stepped up and they stepped in first. You know, a Dallas that works has to be a Dallas that works for everyone. Dallas is a great city, but it's not a perfect city. We know longer term we have to do more to help our communities that need it the most. 70% of the employees in the companies we are trying to reach are people of color. We are trying to lean in, not only to make a difference in their companies, but to make a difference in their lives. And I want to invite as many other businesses to join in this effort so that we can build a Dallas that we all will be truly proud of and a Dallas that works for us all. Richard, you get the last words.
Okay. Well, again, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Without your incentive here, we wouldn't have done a thing. And I want to encourage everybody to take a very good look at this website. It's interactive, it's helpful, it will provide guidance. We're going to have some pairing behind it in terms of coaching for our small, medium-sized businesses. I've had the pleasure of working in 2 presidential administrations and 10 years at the Central Bank of the United States. What I came to realize was that all this macroeconomic stuff is built from microeconomics, including starting at the very base, small and medium-sized businesses. We have to help them. We want them to work. We want our big corporate citizens who have the means to put their shoulder to their wheel and make sure that Dallas, which is the anchor of North Texas and one of the great anchors of Texas as a whole, Mr. Mayor, propels our whole economy forward and sets an example as a city where people want to be. We want to attract even more capital, more people, more workers. We want to have them employed, and we want to have them prosperous regardless of what they look like, regardless of what their faith is. So, Fred, last word. Thank you. You and this team that you put together here is really spectacular. And I'm very, very grateful. You make me look good because you are good. Thank you very much.
All right, we have time for a few questions. Anyone? There's no questions? Oh.
Mr. Mayor, when you think about long-term economic recovery, it seems that the community may not be as willing to go and spend money in this community when cases are as high as they are right now. Cases are at record highs, hospitalizations are at record highs. Do you think Dallas, do you think Texas should consider shutting back down?
The question is about consumer confidence, considering how high the case numbers have gotten and whether the state should shut down, and that's for the mayor.
The decision, as you know, about how to recover and how to reopen the economy, specifically the timeline, decisions related to shutting down the economy, have been made and will continue to be made, I anticipate, by our leadership in Austin, by the governor. But I do think that it is safe to say that the economy won't open up or recover any faster than we are able to get the public health aspect of this problem under control. That's why I think it's very smart of the task force. I was not, I didn't tell them what to do. They came up with this on their own. But I agree that the PPE portion of this is hugely important, because unless people feel like it's safe to re-engage in the economy at the level they were before, we won't get this economy back on track. This economy was doing incredibly well here in Dallas. It was not just a model for the state, and it wasn't just leading the state, it was leading the nation. Corporate relocations, Dale Petrosky and I talk about this all the time. Dallas was doing incredibly well and getting more than its fair share of corporate relocations and capital investment and whatnot. And we will resume that position again, but we can't do it without getting the public health aspect of this under control, which is why I've put a lot of emphasis in recent weeks on our health care access and health care. I've appointed a czar, a gentleman named Kelvin Baggett, who's helping us work with the county to try to get our contact tracing where it needs to be, make sure testing is going on where it needs to be occurring, because that is going to be the key to reopening the economy. As far as whether or not we go back on lockdown and things like that, that is going to be made the way that it's been made in the past, which is from the top in Austin.
Would you suggest to the governor that they shut down the state if cases and hospitalizations continue to increase?
What I suggest to the governor? I talk to the governor pretty regularly, and our conversations have always been, with respect to these decisions, the same. I've encouraged him to look at science and to look at data and to do what science would suggest. And I think that that is what he's going to have to take into account going forward as well. So that's the way we've always looked at it in terms of our conversations have been around doing what public health would dictate. I think the question was, what's my advice given the mixed messages people may be hearing? Is that a good summation of your question? I think the most important thing we can do is wear masks everywhere we go when we're out in public. I think that wearing the masks is scientifically proven to be the single best thing we can do to slow the spread of the disease by reducing the amount of droplets that you breathe out. I see people not wearing them. I see people wearing them but having them around their necks. I see people taking them off to talk to other people, which sort of defeats the purpose. We need to take the mask wearing seriously. We need to continue to adhere to distancing like we have with these X's here on the stage. And we need to stay home when we're symptomatic, and we need to protect our vulnerable populations by keeping folks at home that don't have to be out. And so that's what we have to continue to do. I mean, absent a vaccine, the single biggest defense we have against the spread of the virus is wearing masks, and that's what I would continue to tell people to do. I've changed my official portrait at City Hall and at the airport to me wearing a mask. I believe very strongly in wearing masks. I don't think it should be a political issue. I don't think it should be anything other than a public health decision that shows respect and concern for our neighbors.
¿Perdón? Bueno, la compañía, can I do this in Spanish? La compañía de PepsiCo tiene programa para ayudar a las familias de Dallas, la ciudad de Dallas. Se llama Dallas Thrives. Y bajo de ese programa hay $3 millones y un millón de comida para esas familias aquí en la ciudad de Dallas, los que necesitan esta ayuda. En adición, gracias al trabajo de Dallas Forward, ellos van a darnos $1 millón, $1 millón de dólares más para ayudar en este programa. Y bajo del programa de ayuda que la compañía por nación van a aprobar $50 millones, $50 million. Ellos van a ayudar a nosotros para que las empresas pequeñas aquí en Dallas se puedan tomar una porción de esos dólares que van a tener para todos los Estados Unidos. Y AT&T está ahora trabajando con el señor Hinojosa del DISD, Dallas Independent School District, para tener programa para ayudar a los estudiantes y las familias de los estudiantes de DISD con su acceso a Internet sin pagar. Pero es un contrato que ahora trabajan con el DISD y todavía no ha terminado los negocios. Pero yo creo que eso va a ocurrir. Okay? Thank you very much. Fred, do you want to speak some Spanish here? Okay.
Okay, well, we can do one more.
Mr. Mayor, anything on hospital capacity that you can offer, given Children's in Houston is now taking adults? What are you hearing about hospital capacity issues in Dallas and impacts here?
So tell you what, that was a hospital capacity question. Do we have any more questions about Dallas Forward before we take that? Okay, we'll do hospital capacity, and then we'll take it. We'll call an end to this. So there you go.
So we report hospital capacity numbers at the City of Dallas daily. It's something that I required via an order several months ago. And so we look at that every single day, and we've seen it's been relatively steady, but of late, past week or so, we've seen a ticking up of our ICU beds to just over that 70% threshold that starts to give you a little bit of concern. The ventilator capacity has been very stable, and it's hovering in the high 30s, and so that hasn't changed much. The overall hospital bed capacity, again, this is for the City of Dallas only, not the entire region of North Texas, but the City of Dallas has started to inch up a little bit too towards that 70% number and maybe just a little bit north of it. And every day it goes up and down a little bit. It is a source of concern. We're watching it very closely because that is what the whole flattening the curve effort was about, was making sure that you don't exceed that capacity. This location we're in right now, the convention center, was helped to be stood up by the federal government as an overflow, potentially, hospital for us to use. We've been in touch with our hospital city, and everyone is sort of paying attention right now to the daily case numbers to make sure that if we do see that surge where we start to get close to our capacity in our existing hospitals, that we have a plan to deal with that. So it's something that we're watching very closely. We're not at a point yet where we are, where we're ready to open up this facility or to do anything extraordinary, but we will be ready to do what we need to do to expand that capacity if we get to that point.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming, and let us know if you have any other questions.